listening to
the Rowdy Roundup Podcast
with Jess
and Joe.
Now let's get rowdy.
Hey everyone, this is Joseph Hastings. Welcome to the Rowdy Roundup Podcast, joined by the wonderful Jessica Nevarez. Jessica, how are you doing today?
Hey Joe, I'm good. We're actually recording this on Christmas Day, so if that doesn't show you our dedication to the Cowboys, I'm not sure what actually will. So merry late Christmas to everybody out there. We are, like I said, it's actually the day after Christmas for Joe, because like I said, we're on two separate time zones here, but we are making it work for you all because we have a very exciting week. It is rivalry week, Joe. We had to record this. We were very excited to do this. So let's jump right into it. Dallas versus Philadelphia. We have the Eagles this week. What are your thoughts? Give it to me because I know you have some opinions on this one.
Okay, so I'm admittedly a little bit nervous about this matchup, even though we're playing at home. The Eagles are always just a scary team for me when it comes to whether they can close out our playoff chances or not. We saw that last year. They ended our playoff hopes in the second to last game. I'll never forget when Kyle Orton was at the end in 2013 and replaced the injured Tony Romo, and Philadelphia beat us. So Philly always scares me, especially when we're playing at home. But you know what? I think that the Cowboys are going to continue that streak that they've been on, beating the Cincinnati Bengals 30-7, putting up 41 points against the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like that defense is really fired up and really ready to play. And guess what? They're playing a rookie quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen has done really well. First start ever, beats the New Orleans Saints, which is one of the top teams in the NFL regardless of conference. Then he goes on the road and puts up 26 points against Kyler Murray in just an epic showdown between two former Oklahoma Sooner quarterbacks. So I'm definitely in the mindset that maybe we could potentially get him, a little rattled, a little, out of his comfort zone compared to what he had been doing in these previous 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about this game, honestly, especially from the defensive perspective. I want to get your thoughts, though. What do you think about Sunday's matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles?
You know what? I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous either. I think as a Cowboys fan, it comes in the territory and the nature to be nervous anytime we play the Eagles. I think that is just our natural instinct, but especially in a year like this where the division is going to come down to the last couple of games, and right, we're getting right to that point. And so keep in mind the Cowboys now 5-9, the Eagles 4-9-1. So this is really going to say a lot about either of these teams. This is going to say a lot for the Cowboys, whether these last 2 weeks of 2 consecutive victory Mondays, which have been very nice, by the way, I'd like to make it 3, is really legit. And if we're really seeing that change that we need to see within the organization, or on the other side of that, if this is going to show us what this possible new Eagles team could look like going forward. Because like you said, Wentz is no longer in, and to be quite honest, I don't see him staying with Philadelphia after this season. So this could definitely be a new era for Philadelphia as well. So I'm curious to see how this is all going to pan out, especially nearing the end of the regular season. So the only thing I will say is statistically, we could win this game. With the statistics, even though the Cowboys have not been the best this season, we still have what it takes to win this game. Now, what I'm worried about is, are they going to show up? Like you said, you call them the Dallas Cowboys when they don't show up. We need the defense for this game. This is a game that the defense cannot slack. They cannot be slow. They have to fix those little things. They have to wrap up in their tackles. They have to make sure that they look their best, because this is going to be, I think, the closest game that we've seen. I'm going to go on a stretch here and say all season, because what do we have writing on the line? The division still anybody's division at this point. So I think it has a lot in stake, I should say, for both of the teams. So I'm excited to see it. I'm a little nervous, but at the end of the day, if the team plays like they've been playing, especially with getting those fumbles and those recoveries, I think we're solid. I think if you shake up Hurts a little bit, it's going to be fine. It's going to be good. We're going to be good. It's all good, guys. There's no need to panic. It's just the Eagles, which Cowboys fans, I know we have to deal with a week of hearing from Eagles fans. I'm so sorry in advance. I wish I could tell you that doesn't make me nervous too. I don't like talking to Eagles fans, especially this week. So if you're an Eagles fan, you're listening to this, well, you probably shouldn't, because you're not going to like what we have to say during this episode. But, I want to ask you, Joe, you probably know a little bit more about this than I do. what is going to happen if the Cowboys win or lose this game? Run us down both of those tracks. How is that going to play out? What do we need to happen in order to, A, either win the division, or B, get a better draft pick? Because like I said, we're all about staying positive here on this podcast.
So essentially, it's pretty easy when it comes to when we lose, what would happen. We're eliminated from the playoffs. We're one game behind the Washington football team right now, and they have the tiebreaker over us. They would have the lead over us if we end up finishing with the same record as they did beat us twice. We don't need to talk about those games. Those were really tough. But if
Yeah.
we do win and Washington loses this week against the Carolina Panthers, then we're still in a chance to make it to the playoffs. We would be playing the New York Giants the following week with a chance to win the NFC East, assuming the Washington football team loses against the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a lot riding on this game if we win. Now, the worst case scenario, in my opinion, is if we win out and we still lose the division, which is a possibility because all Washington needs to do is win one of these final two games. So that means we finish 7-9, tied with Washington or a game behind them in terms of record, and we would have a draft pick that isn't as good as if we lose out. As a
Yeah.
Cowboys fan, obviously you want the higher draft pick if you know you're not going to make the playoffs. But if you're Mike McCarthy, you want to win the rest of these final two games and say, hey, I lost my starting quarterback for most of the season. My offensive line was decimated. We lost multiple starters on both sides of the football, and I was able to finish with one loss less than the previous season when we had pretty much all those guys healthy. So from Mike McCarthy's perspective, he wants to win these final two games, whether they make the playoffs or not. From a Cowboys fan's perspective, like you and myself are Dallas Cowboys fans, we want to lose these final two games if we know we're not going to make it to the playoffs because we want the higher draft pick, or so we can either trade it or make that selection, whether it's at number 7, number 8, whatever. So it's tough. It's a really tough bind that we're in. We've talked about it multiple times on this podcast here, but I'm going to pass it off to you once again. What are your thoughts on this weekend if we win? If Washington loses, what are your thoughts going to be? What are those emotions going to be like?
I think it's still a frustrating season. No matter if we win the division, I'm still going to be very frustrated with how this season played out. And like I've said multiple times throughout these past few episodes, I give them the excuse that it's a pandemic year. I give them the excuse of the injuries. No preseason. I have all of these excuses lined up for them because it's legit, right? We don't have Dak in, and then you have injuries week to week. And, I understand all of that. However, like I said, I think every podcast now, my frustration comes with coaching. So if we went out and we basically have the same record as we did last season, that's going to give Jerry Jones a reason to say, hey, you might as well just stick around then, because it's not as bad as it was. It wasn't that much worse compared to where we were, when in reality, it's been sloppy football we've seen this season. So to me, I would rather at least know that if they don't win these next two games, that could be, I guess, implied to Jerry Jones that there needs to be some changes made, especially in the defensive side of things. I've been ragging on this defense, it feels like, for the entirety of this podcast. And defense, I appreciate what you've been doing these last two games, but man, it just has looked so sloppy to me. And actually, I wrote down here, the defense is ranked 23rd in the NFL, right? So to me, that's just unacceptable. We should not be ranked that low. I'm sorry. That is unacceptable. Given Philadelphia's defense is ranked 20th, okay. But when do we ever want Philadelphia beating us in any kind of statistic or anything? And along with those statistics, our offense as of this week was ranked number 16, which surprisingly, that is better than what I expected. Philadelphia 22nd in offense. In passing, Dallas Cowboys are rated 12th in the NFL, which is pretty good. Shout out to Andy Dalton for that these last couple of weeks. Philadelphia 27th. That is their ranking in the NFL with passing. We are ranked 19th in rushing, and Philadelphia has us on this. They're ranked 10 in rushing in the NFL. So my issue, again, is coaching. I think it all goes back to that. I think, like I've been saying, there's a lot of discussion to have this offseason. So I think it'll be very telling this week to see if this is the new mentality of the Dallas Cowboys, or if we're going to see another sloppy, disappointing game, which I'm really hoping that's not going to happen. I just think it's going to be very telling this game. And then the Giants game, next week we'll have a better picture of what the future looks like as far as the playoff run. But I just am frustrated with this season. So I think the best thing that can come out of it is that we have clarity to whether we're going to see some changes in the coaching staff or not. And Mike McCarthy's not going anywhere. We've heard that already. I'm talking about on the defensive side. Mike Nolan, watch your job, man. That's all I can say about that. So yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm excited to see what they do this week. So just giving us really good, I guess, perspective on that, Joe. So thank you for always having that ready. So that brings us to, what's your predictions for this game? What do you think we're going to see a lot of? What do you think we need to see a lot of? And what is your final score prediction?
Well, the big thing is we're going to need to force Jalen Hurts into some turnovers. He's somebody who's really calm, poised, collected. We saw that in his days at Alabama, at Oklahoma. He's really shown that, and these past 2 weeks as well, he's really shown that he's a quarterback who can sit in the pocket or move outside the pocket and make runs on broken plays. And, he's just a guy who's just going to stay calm throughout the course of the game, no matter what the score is, no matter what situation he's in. So I don't know if we're going to see as much sloppiness from him as we saw from, Nick Mullins at the end of the San Francisco 49ers game last week, but I'm hoping so. Like, as a Cowboys fan, we need to hope that he turns the ball over 1 or 2 times throughout the course of this game, because if we don't force any turnovers, I don't think we win this game. I think we need to have at least one. I think we need to be on the positive end of that statistic as well, meaning that we have less turnovers than Philadelphia does, because we need to keep Andy Dalton as the game manager that he has been. We need to have Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard run the ball, control the time of clock, time of possession. So in my opinion, we need to run the ball extremely well, very efficiently. I'm talking about 5-6 yards per carry. We need to gash Philadelphia's defense and keep the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hand, because, in my opinion, this Cowboys defense is very vulnerable when it comes to running quarterbacks. We saw that with Lamar Jackson, and we've seen it in the past as well. So we need to keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket if we can, and also limit the amount of times that he has the ball throughout this game. So it's going to actually need to be a low-scoring game compared to what we've seen before. I don't think Dallas is going to need to necessarily put up 41 like they did against San Francisco last week, or 30 like they did against Cincinnati. This is mainly a game where we're going to need to control the time of possession. I'm thinking 24-20 in terms of like a score prediction. It's going to be pretty low compared to what we've seen before. So that's what I'm going to go with my score prediction. Dallas out in front, 24-20. And my MVP of this game is going to be Ezekiel Elliott. I know that he's somebody that we've gotten on before, in terms of his production this season. But I think he's due for a breakout role in this game, and especially against Philadelphia. He's had success against them before in the past. So I'm really excited about seeing what Zeke can do, coming over and, taking over those responsibilities as the number 1 running back, because we saw what Tony Pollard did last week. And, you mentioned that he was your game MVP last week. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do coming back from this injury. What about yourself? How do you think this game is going to play out?
Yeah, piggybacking on what you said, I hope to see Zeke show up this game, because when you see a really hot Zeke, he is more than capable of doing exactly what we need to wear out that Eagles defense. But what worries me is his injury, right? So we're not going to see a fully recovered Ezekiel Elliott from last week to this week. That calf injury, quite honestly, I think has been bothering him for the majority of this season, which is why I don't think he's looked like himself. So I do think he's really going to ball out. It's the Eagles. I mean, you can't tell me that the Cowboys locker room is not fired up that they're playing the Eagles this week. And if they're not, that's a whole other issue that we're going to have here. But I'm going to go on a bit of a limb here. Okay. And my score prediction was way out of the water last week. Totally blew that. But I'm going to say score prediction is going to be 27-25. I'm going to go there. And of course, Dallas on top. When are we ever going to pick Dallas to lose on this podcast? spoiler alert, probably never. So I'm going to say Dallas is going to win. And I think we definitely need to see the defense show up. We need to continue to see those fumbles, those fumble recoveries. If we see that kind of pressure, oh, I have no doubt that the defense can help us win this thing like they've done these last couple of weeks. However, what worries me is our offensive line still. The offensive line on the other side is always worried me this season, and Andy Dalton needs to be quick to get that ball out of his hands. And here we go. Use your running backs. You have two really good ones. Use both of them. And sometimes that play calling, I don't understand why we don't use them more. So I think the less we pass, the better. Stick to running the ball, stick to feeding Zeke, giving it to Tony Pollard, interchanging them. We have two great running backs. There's no need to just use one of them. And I do think we'll see a little bit more of Tony Pollard just because of Zeke's injury still being a little bit fresh, right? So I think we'll see that. I think if the defense shows up, if the offensive line shows up, we're all good to go. I think we have a win in the bag. Now, I think my game MVP this week is going to be D-Law, simply because he had such a great game last week. He was your MVP choice last week, and I want to see more of him. I think we saw his breakout game last week against the 49ers. I think we're going to continue to see that fire in him, the hot boys, if you will. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that fire and amp up going off of these 2 weeks straight of winning. So I think D-Law is really going to show up. I think he's going to be hungry to get some interceptions going, maybe some fumbles. Who knows what we're going to see, you guys. I just want to see D-Law with that ball. That is all I know. I don't care how he gets it. I want to see him with that ball in the end zone for 6. That's what I want to see. So I think D-Law is really going to take the force of his motivation and his energy in the best way. Keep in mind, I think Van Der Esch is still out for this game. So I think that's going to have a bit of an impact on your defense, as it always does. You still have the general in there. You still have Sean Lee. We're good. I just think it's going to be up to, like you said, the defense, and can they stop the run from the Eagles. That does worry me. But I do think all in all, it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to come down to a matter of a couple of points, just like it always does. But both organizations have a lot riding on these next couple of games. So I think it's only going to bring out the best in our players. I'm hoping I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, Joe. Please tell me if I'm crazy for doing that.
Now, I do have to admit, before we started this podcast, this is really tough. This is a really tough right here. I was going to pick the Eagles. I was. I just I could not bring it out in me. And here's the reason why. I think as an objective, like taking off my Cowboys hat, as an objective fan of football, watching this team and watching what the Eagles have done this year, especially these last 2 weeks, I really think Jalen Hurts can take off, can get about 50, 60 yards on the ground, can really put our defense on their heels. I'm really nervous about whether we're going to be able to contain Miles Sanders. That offense with Philadelphia has looked really good these past 2 weeks. This is not the same offense we went up against several weeks ago when we had Ben DiNucci and Carson Wentz was starting for Philadelphia. This is a revamped team that we're going up against. I just don't know if our defense is going to be able to handle it because, look, I'm glad we beat Cincinnati, and I'm really glad that we beat San Francisco. But who were the quarterbacks' names of those teams? I mean, they were Brandon Allen and Nick Mullins. Jalen Hurts is a different type of quarterback. He was a second-round draft pick for a reason. Easily what we've seen from him now could have been a first-rounder based on his potential. So I'll admit I'm definitely nervous about this game. I wanted to pick Philadelphia. The score that was in my head was 31-27 Philly. But something's telling me that this Cowboys defense is feeling themselves. They're starting to come into their own. We're going to have to get a turnover or two, in my opinion. If we don't, it's over. If we can't force a turnover and Jalen Hurts is able to do whatever he wants to do, this game is done. But I have to admit, I am a little bit more nervous about this game than I am about the New York Giants game in a week from now.
That's totally fair and it's valid. I think had the Cowboys lost the last 2 weeks, we wouldn't even be having this type of discussion. We wouldn't even have hope left. I think we've seen a totally different Dallas Cowboys team these last 2 weeks, which does make us hopeful and a little less nervous. But given the circumstances and how this entire division has ended up playing out this season, it is nerve-wracking. So as much as I hope we win, I also know the reality of things, being a football fan, that this is going to be a tough game for them. But like I said, I think it's only going to prove what we need them to prove, or what we need to see, and what the organization needs to see going forward as far as their future. So I'll agree with you there. I am nervous for this game, but we can do it, because man, Victory Monday always feels good, but just feels 10 times better when it's against the Eagles. Man, I just can't wait to hopefully be celebrating our third consecutive Victory Monday in a row. So I mean, that's really all I have. The only thing I think that's worrying me as far as score wise or winning or losing is, like you said, the Washington football team only needs to win one of these next two games. They play the Panthers this week. Just a heads up. Panthers are 4-10. The Washington football team is 6-8. So I
Okay.
will let you guys hope for the worst for the Washington football team during that game. Excuse me, guys, it's almost midnight my time. It is past midnight Joe's time. We're tired, but we're just so amped up. We couldn't wait to talk about this. But back on track. Like I was saying, I don't know. I don't know if the Panthers can pull up the upset like we need them to. Just all of the good vibes to the Panthers this weekend for a win against the Washington football team.
So we kind of got lucky with that game against the Panthers in terms of Washington, because, Dwayne Haskins earlier this week, if y'all didn't know, got himself into a little bit of trouble when it came to COVID-19 protocols, and he had.
We'll say that. We'll leave it at that. We'll keep it G-rated on the podcast. We'll leave it at that. Look it up. If you don't know what we're talking about, go look it up.
Yeah, we do not need to get into that in this podcast right here. Definitely want to keep ourselves on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. This is G-rated. We're not going to go into that stuff. And like Jess said, look up that story. It's very intriguing. So, but obviously he had some controversy earlier this week. And I think that sends a bad vibe within that locker room, especially after they lost a very winnable game against the Seahawks team that is a pretty good team. They're 10-4. Vying for an NFC West crown. So they almost won that game, and Dwayne Haskins was pretty much a reason why they didn't. And then he goes out and does what he did after the game. So I think the morale in that locker room isn't as high as it should have been, especially with how close they played the Seahawks. And I know they have a lot riding on the line, but I think the Panthers can pull this game out. Matt Rule is an offensive type of coach, and that's exactly what you need against a Washington front seven that is honestly top three, maybe the best in the NFL. They got a lot of good pass rushers, a lot of good defensive linemen over there. So we're going to need Teddy Bridgewater to step his game up.
Let's go, Mr. Bridgewater. We believe in you this week. Cowboys Nation is backing you this week, man. You gotta help us out.
We're backing Teddy this week. And I know it hasn't gone the way the Panthers have wanted to this season, but Teddy's had actually a pretty good season. I think it's 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,300 yards in 13 games, I believe, when I last looked it up. But so I'm hoping that Teddy can do something with the weapons that he has. And we're going to need the Panthers to win because, even if Philadelphia wins this game or loses this game, it's not going to matter if Washington ends up winning. The final result isn't really going to matter in terms of our playoff hopes. So we need Washington to lose against the Panthers, and we also need the Baltimore Ravens to step up against the New York Giants at home. I think they'll be able to take care of them. What are your thoughts on that game?
I do too. The Ravens are 9-5. The Giants are 5-9. So statistically, can the Ravens win? Yes, but it's also 2020. And anything flies. So I'm just going to say good vibes to the Ravens. Y'all can continue to help out Cowboys Nation. Just win this game, y'all. That's all you have to do. No, I definitely think the Ravens can beat the Giants. It's more keeping an eye on the Panthers and Washington game. I think that's going to make me a little bit more nervous. But nothing can make me as nervous as this Eagles game is going to make me on Sunday. So, yes, the seasonal football season anxiety is at full force these next couple of weeks.
And it's crazy. Like, who would have thought that we would have been in this position? A few weeks ago, we won against Minnesota, but then dropped back-to-back games and losing Philadelphia, losing against Washington. And we're like, okay, the season's probably over. Now we're in a place where we're like, maybe there's a chance. Are you telling me there's a chance?
Yeah.
There's a shot right here with the Cowboys, and it's so fun. I love these type of games because we're going to be running concurrently with the Washington and Carolina game. So it's not like Washington's going to be playing at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to be playing at 4:25, and we'll know our playoff hopes then. This is going to be something where we're actively engaged. We'll know what's on the line as we watch the Washington game. Kind of reminds me of what happened last year when Philadelphia took on New York,
Yeah.
and we played Washington. So I'm super amped up. This is going to be an awesome Sunday. I'm so excited about it. Watching Dallas take the field and actually having a chance, to still make the playoffs. That's at this point with 2 weeks left in the NFL season. No matter how it ended up with us losing Dak and losing all of our players throughout this season, we're still in the position to make the playoffs. And as a Cowboys fan, that's all you want. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to Sunday. I'm so happy about Dallas actually being in this position, even though it's been a really ugly season.
Oh, this season has been very 2020-like, and I think when I say that, everyone knows how I feel about it. So, yeah, I think after we saw Dak get injured, which was just an awful, awful, awful thing to see for any quarterback. You never want to see any player go down like that, no matter what team, no matter what position. But for it to be Dak was, oh man, just probably top 2 hardest injuries I've seen on during a football season. But I think after that, a lot of Cowboys fans just said, I'm done with this season. It's over. And quite honestly, I feel like the locker room after the 4 Dak game kind of felt the same way. I think they really realized their playmaker was gone. Their captain was gone, So I think this season was very telling for the organization. If anything positive comes out of it, I hope that it's the Jones family sees how much Dak has an impact on that locker room and how much we need him to stay in Dallas. I want to see Dak continue to play football, and I want him to continue to play football with that star on his helmet for the rest of his career. I am a full Dak stan now. I wasn't before this season, and I'm one of those fans that can say I didn't appreciate him when we had him. Man, I can't wait to see that man come back. But I think if anything positive comes out of the season, it'll be a greater appreciation for Dak and everything he contributes to the organization. So, the season's not over yet. I know we're talking like it is. It's not over yet. There's still a chance. I'm just reflecting overall on this crazy season that we've had that, man, just true roller coaster like fashion for us Cowboys fans. So, yes, we are excited for Sunday's matchup against the Eagles, and we both have the Cowboys winning this. Even though most people don't, that's all right. We like when people bet against the Cowboys because, hey, typically helps us out a little bit in the karma side of things. So we have the Cowboys winning. Joe, is there anything else you want to add about this week's game before we introduce possibly a special guest into our podcast?
No, I do not. I think we're ready to bring on our special guest.
I love it. Okay, where's Mama?
Mama Hastings right over here.
Here I am.
Hi, Mama Hastings.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. Hi. This is actually my first time meeting Mama Hastings live right here, right now. And she is beautiful, you guys.
Likewise.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. You guys are just my favorite people. And it's, I don't know how much you know about how Joe and I met, but I knew we were meant to be Cowboys family. I just knew it.
Yes, and I feel like I know a lot about you by watching all of the podcasts, and very excited to be on here with you guys.
I'm excited. So, were you the Cowboys stan in the family with Joe? How did this happen? Was it you that brought the fandom on? Tell me how this happened.
This was his dad completely. I have been with his father for 27 years, and he had been a Cowboys fan through and through. So I've watched the games. I've sat through the ups, the downs, the in-betweens. And, and Joseph is just like his father, just emotionally invested in this team. And we all as a family are just really invested in watching them and cheering for them and good, bad, and ugly. I mean, it's just the way it is.
It is, and it comes with the territory of being a Cowboys mama, because I feel like my mom does the same thing. She has been there for my dad, my brother, and I when we've cried happy tears, sad tears, when all the highs and lows of being a Cowboys fan. So I'm glad that you stuck through this fandom. A fun fact: my mom was a Dolphins fan, and she's gonna be so mad at me for saying that. So hey, mom, I'm just gonna say, Mama Hastings has this on you. She's always been a Cowboys fan. So
well, I'm gonna have to say that I have something in common with your mom. I'm from Miami, Florida, so I was a huge Zach Thomas fan.
Okay.
Stood in line in, I forget what store it was, to get a football signed by him. Loved him. So I love the Cowboys. The Dolphins. I loved Dan Marino. Loved everything about them. But when I got married and we started watching more and more of the Cowboys, Tony Romo was by far one of my favorites. And I love Dak, probably most importantly because he loves his family so much. And you can tell that his football team is now his, it is his family. So he's very close. He's very passionate about everything. And there's something on the field that he brings that you can't duplicate it no matter what you try. So that's where I think what the team right now is missing is a lot of that heart. And it's kind of hard to watch because it's, that they're missing that component that every family needs, that person that they center around.
Yeah, absolutely. So is it safe to say that your ultimate favorite Dallas Cowboys, out of all of them, is it Dak or is it Tony? If you had to pick one, who is it?
Oh, that's tough. That's not fair, Jess. I know you love Tony. I know that. My husband absolutely loves Tony. We love all the Cowboys, but there's something special about both of them, something unique and special about both of them. And I think I won't say, I just love the quarterback position. You have to have really good leaders in that position. And they both, I think, have brought two different types of leadership to that team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been an interesting ride for us as Cowboys fans just these last few years to see the Tony to Dak transition. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a Dak stan for a long time. It was very hard for me to let go of the Tony past. And like you said, there's something he brings that's just so inviting to his teammates that make them want to work harder for him. So even when we saw him get injured, I saw all those players step up just to play for him. And like you said, I think that's lacking a lot. I think if they played like they did the rest of that Giants game where he got injured, we would have a totally different season right now, because they really, really played their hearts out that game to make sure, hey, if Dak went down for us in this game, we're going to make sure to end it with a win. So, I totally understand. What are your thoughts as far as just this season, and what do you hope to see? Let us have it. What are your innermost thoughts about what we've seen?
So I think that everybody can agree this has just been a really weird year. You're talking across all sports, so we're not seeing the same caliber of, I think, the type of players that in the basketball area or in the football area. We're seeing a lot of change. They have to have a lot of changes. They're not in their normal environment. I've been talking to Joe about whether the preseason, not having the preseason, had a huge effect on what's going on. You see a lot of injuries. It's just, I can't imagine what we're doing here at home and them having to do something completely different on the field. They can't be their normal selves at this time, which all of us are experiencing that. So it's really good to see football on TV. It's really just one of those escapes that we can have. It's been really fun, but we all know that we're all going through some difficult times. So that's where I think it's just a little bit different. But I love watching the Cowboys play. I love watching football, but I love watching the Cowboys play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my last question to you is, how was it going to AT&T Stadium? What was your favorite part? Joe was geeking out to me about it the first time we had met. So what was your first thought? How did you feel going into Jerry's Palace, if you will?
Okay, so you're going to think this is really cheesy, but it's watching the reaction of Joseph and of Andrew and of my other son, Brendan. It's just watching them just be completely amazed, particularly Joseph and his father, because they're the really heavy duty fans of the Cowboys, and just watching them look around and see everything and know where you're at. You're in the place where, you have the really, like we talked about, the really high highs and the really low lows, but that's where the Cowboys are. That's the team that you tune into every Sunday. And we drove from Florida over there, and it was a long drive. And when we got there, just it was surreal, but it
Yeah.
was really fun. It was really fun.
That's major commitment to drive from Florida to Dallas. Let
Yeah,
me just say, wow, that's a long drive, and I'm sure it was worth it.
it was absolutely worth it. And the game didn't end the way we wanted it to. But I mean, we cheered so loud, and just being around everybody else who was excited about the game. I don't think that you could ever be unhappy. I mean, you're not gonna be happy with the loss, but I mean, just being around a bunch of people who are cheering for that exact same team, and you want the win. It was great.
Yeah, you definitely make friends very easily at AT&T Stadium if they're Cowboys fans, of course. If
I was
they're
about
Eagles
to
fans
say,
sitting next to you, no luck with that.
had what was it, the Vikings?
The
Oh
Vikings.
my God, we had some annoying Viking fans in front of us, and I'm Hispanic, so my temperament is a little bit short. But
I feel you on that. I feel you.
yeah, I was just like, oh my God, if they don't stop, I don't know what chant they were doing.
The skull chant. It
Oh,
was
the
a skull
skull
chant.
chant.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I was just like, I can't. I just can't. I can't sit through the whole. But we did. It was great. It's really pleased. That part was good.
You made it through this skull chant. All right, Mama Hastings. Who's your game MVP this week? Who's winning this game, and what do you think we're gonna see?
So I was with you. Joey and I talk. We talk a lot about sports and stuff, but among other things. But Tony's one of my favorite. Pollard. He's great. I kept calling him Tracy for some reason. Tracy Pollard. I don't know why. It was just in my head.
It's all good.
Yeah. But I love our wide receivers. I love Gallup, and I love CD. And I don't know. I want every single one of them to be an MVP. I want every single one of them to go out there, and I want them to show why they are a Cowboys.
I love this.
Yeah.
Joe, I love your mom. She's the best. No, I love that too. I think my dad and I were talking about this. CeeDee Lamb, a force to be reckoned with, man. I don't think we saw nearly half of what he's capable of doing during his football season during this season. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But yeah, I agree with you. I hope they can definitely come out and show us why they enjoy being a Dallas Cowboy and get us a win so we can rub it in all those Eagles fans' faces. That's just the best part of a Cowboys victory Monday against the Eagles.
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, Mama Hastings, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. Joe, any final words to your sweet mama?
No, I just thank you, Mom, for raising me and keeping me on the right track. Honestly, I wouldn't be where I am without her, and I owe everything to her and my dad. So, yeah, I'm glad she was able to come on, talk about her affinity for the Cowboys, because in this household, we're all in it together. We yeah. She knows it just as much as my dad knows it. We stick through with the Cowboys through and through. This year, it's been a little bit tougher than others, but the Hastings household is all Cowboys. So thankfully she stuck through everything, all the highs and lows.
I love to see it. I love to see it. It's so funny how similar our family situation is with the Cowboys just being that bond for us, right? It's such a special moment to have with your family when the Cowboys win. There's something about it when, the Cowboys achieve something, when they win, they lose, even just the highs and the lows, going through it with the people you love is just the best thing. So like I said, we are all one big Cowboys family now, and I love it. So I'm excited. Make sure to continue to stay updated with us. Give Mama Hastings some love on our social media pages. We are on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Of course, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review. Let us know how much you just love Mama Hastings like I do. I'm obsessed, Joe. I'm going to definitely talk football with your mom all the time now. And just let us know what you think. We appreciate all of the love and all the feedback you guys give us. And, of course, Eagles fans, this doesn't apply to you. We don't want your feedback. We don't want your reviews. Cowboys fans, this is all for you. So, I'm going to end it on saying, we're going to win this game. Cowboys Nation, I know it's nerve-wracking, but just positive thoughts going forward.
Oh, I'm ready for Sunday night. Gonna be going on all the Eagles Instagram pages and commenting. Just take that, go Cowboys. I'm gonna be everywhere on Sunday night, and honestly, we're gonna rub it in because as long as we beat the Eagles, I'm fine with that. Washington can win and take us out the postseason, and that would be tough, but at least we would shut the Eagles out from making the playoffs and preventing them from winning. So I'd be happy with that. It's always go Cowboys. Jess, I'm so glad that we're able to do this. We've been 2-0 since we started the podcast. Let's make it 3-0.
Let's make it 3-0, guys. Let's hope this podcast is a good luck charm to the Cowboys. Let's keep this going. There's still hope. We're going to make it 3-0. So, Joe, pleasure as always. We will see you guys Monday morning, and go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.